Hello, my name is Lineke Lijn, and in this video I'm going to draw a rose. I'm going to draw it pen and ink. Pen and ink is really inexpensive to buy and it's really nice to work with. The first 5 minutes I will be taking some attention to the drawing itself with pen and ink, and then we will start off with a rose lying on a table. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to start now, and this is the rose as I've designed it. I've practiced and I will be using 2 kinds of pens for this drawing. A fine pen and a great pen, and Indian ink. Indian ink is the best ink for this. It dries very well and it's really black. This is how I first started out, and before I was planning on doing a rose, I tried some kind of roses, and I saw not the top one here. Here's the rose I printed from the internet, and I started out to try and lay it on a table. So this is what we will be doing. But before I went on drawing in pen and ink, I first did some practice work, and I urge you to do so if you've never worked with pen and ink. Try taking lines vertical, horizontal, all kinds of scribbly forms, and I practiced all kinds of lines just by placing squares with a pencil, and then practicing with the kind of shade, the gray tones, by placing the lines nearer and nearer together, or by cross-hatching, and also scribbly forms to draw the gray tones. And what I also did is practice some boxes and practice some shadows. And what you do is you simply you can also draw in pencil the boxes, but you can also directly use the pen. What I'm doing now is I've taped a little piece with my mobile phone, so you can see the ink on the pen going, and then I'm drawing the outer lines of the box, and then I started scribbling the little lines in and placing them the other way, for instance. Or you can even try, so I want to look into the box and then place other lines, so now the box doesn't look closed, but it's like you can really look into it, and place a little bit of shadow. And what I also practice is different kinds of the height, like when you use scribbly tones, it's like it's a basket case or something. And it's all done with lines and drawing lines and little bit of shadow, and putting lines closer together, or really stretching them out. So I really want to invite you, if you've never drawn with pen and ink, please practice this before you get started. This is the rose as I was planning to draw. I already did some lines to save time, otherwise this film would take a very long time. But you can still see what I'm doing when I'm trying to make this rose. I start out from the inside out, and in the inside the little petals are really close to each other. Also in the rose in the background, the petals go from really tiny to rather big. Here I'm starting out with my fine pen. It's a fine ink pen, a craw pen, I think it's called in English. And I really carefully try out a little bit, but I'm also placing already the thicker pen, because I'm quite certain that I'm okay now. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the thick lines and you can see now that I'm pressing rather hard on the pen. The harder you press, the more the two blades on the pen stretch out, and a lot of ink is coming out then. Here are the sharp lines from the rose, the leaves of the plant itself. They're edgy and they have the nerves, and then I can also get the difference between the rose petals and the leaves of the plant itself. Now all I have to do is follow the little guidelines I already put on the paper, and now I will be giving this rose some shape. You can see with the rose in the background, I use the pen real soft, and the rose on the front, the lines will be much fatter, much thicker. Now we'll be moving to the background. I'll be zooming in here, and what you can see then is the little shadings I give to the background, and I will be using the fine pen for this. These are the little leaves that are around the rose bud when it's still closed, and this is another petal. It's the little tiny dark green leaves that are around the rosebud, and they are sticking just outside of the rose that is laying in the front of us. I keep this really fine, the rose in the background. This is where the shadows will be. Underneath the roses, I also put that in. Here I start cross hatching in the rose, and the deepest parts I make the most darkest. By placing these shadows, the other petals will pop out in front. So all you need to do is place these shadows underneath the petal you want to make pop out. Here I start cross hatching again to make the shadow go even darker. I keep it really loose, so I'm not guiding the lines I'm making, but I really shake it loose from the hand. But I will try to keep them even. Also, I do not make my lines very long, because if you are drawing lines with the pen, they tend to bend a little. So I keep the movements quite short. Oh no! Ooh, that was my cat. Whew, no harm done. Here I'm taking another leaf out, because I thought there was quite a bit spacey there, so you can always decide to place something in if you think you need it. Here there is the shadow for the rose that is lying in the back. Here I take the leaf of the plant itself and I make it really dark. So I'm completely covering this with the lines. And here is the shadow for the rose that is in front of us. These lines are thicker, so I press harder on my pen. So this shadow in front is darker than the shadow that is of the rose that is lying in the background. Again, I keep the lines quite short, not too long, because then they will bend off. It takes quite a bit of patience to get all the hatchings, cross hatchings done, but I think it's kind of nice to do. Here I take extra deep shadow in. Also here I'm thinking, okay, this can need a little bit of shade. And the background. Now and then I go all over the sheet. Okay, now I will be placing the planks of the wooden table, and I take it's kind of a perspective, so the wooden planks are getting out farther and farther, and then I decide the thickness of the planks, and I take very simple lines to divide. The planks are a bit loose from each other, and then all I have to do is take a little bit of shadow between them to make them appear separate from each other. It's kind of what we were doing with the boxes we did in the practice. These are sort of long boxes, if you like. And then I take the curved lines to make it appear that there are, that's where the wood is sawed off, and then you can see all the little lines of the wood going on in the front. As you can see, every plank has different kinds of little curves, so they all seem to be separate from each other. By shading between, planks, they seem to appear to be loose from each other. Keep the lines as simple as possible. As you see, I don't get in too much detail. Make it extra dark underneath the rose, so the rose seems to be popping out more. And also this leaf can get a little bit darker and a little bit more shadow under the rose. And here, to keep it all quite in composition, I take out a little bit more darkness in the rose itself, so it keeps comparing with each other. Now the parts that are the most in front, I put in extra dark lines. So I'm pressing real hard on my pen here, and a lot of ink is coming out, so they seem to look more in the front. Take out some detail lines again to make it in comparing with the shells or the planks. And then the rose is lying on the table with the rose in the background. And what you can also do, be very careful with this because it's wet. I take out a little bit of water and place it on a bristle. And then I make a little bit of wetness behind the table, and then I put in a little bit of ink. And you can see the ink running, and in this way it appears there's a kind of darkness, so it gives extra dimension, an extra perspective in the drawing. I'm using a kind of thick paper, but you can still see the paper a little bubbling. But when your paper is thick enough, it will come okay and it will stretch out again. And you can maybe place it, when it's dry enough, you can place it underneath a book or something, but it will correct itself. Well, I am placing my signature here. I wish you all the luck with it, and especially have a lot of fun. Kind regards from Lineke, Lijn. Bye bye.